So, today's topic is inspired by the reveal of that one fake AI actress called Tilly Norwood. I want to say it was Norwood. It generated a lot of opinions, and I gotta say that this is the one that I guess sums up a great deal of my feelings about AI, but at the same time, it's hard to convey, at least on my part. AI is something that we're mentioning a lot nowadays, and I think it's because we as consumers have better access to it, I guess, because our phones are always in our pockets. And basically, our phones is just an AI computer at this point. Even though artificial intelligence has been a thing since like the mid 50s or so, and we have seen it, I guess now that we as consumers have access to such a thing more easily compared to the past when, say, having a computer decades ago, let's say before the 90s, it would have been super expensive. They would have been pretty limited with what they can do compared to what we can do now with something as small as our phones. And I think we're crossing a threshold where I feel like AI is just pointless. It's just lazy. And I think it's leading us toward a world where we become so reliant on convenience that we begin to rot with it because, as opposed to, say, assigning AI to do petty tasks that are boring and repetitive and freeing us people to actually use our hands and fingers and skills and taste and smelling and hearing and all that to produce other things. The problem is when we become used to something convenient, we get lazy. And when we get lazy, we become detached from the process of how something is done. And when that happens, that's when the disconnect happens. And I feel like that's when our decline intellectually as a species begin. That pretty much is the summary of my feelings toward AI. I feel like AI takes the puzzle pieces away from the puzzle, and instead of making the puzzle pieces smaller, it keeps making them bigger. You know how the tinier puzzle pieces are, the harder the puzzle will be? Well, I feel like we used to have puzzle pieces this size. AI is making them this size. And it's easy for you to put the pieces together. Whereas in the past, we used to need to come together and take the time to figure something out. Now AI is taking the literal human and their creativity out of the equation because a human has programmed human processes into something non-human, and now we are depending on something non-human to deliver human results. In the case of this actress, Tilly Norwood, what annoys me the most is how, I mean, she won't be the only AI model actress that they have. This is just the one they just so happen to release and that we know of. There's no telling that there aren't others ready to deploy, such as this literal nobody. But what is annoying to me is how she couldn't look, I guess, average. She just had to look with specific facial traits. Say the hair looks really full of volume. She looks like she could be anywhere between an adolescent to like early 20s, mid 20s, pushing it, I guess. And why can they never look like what you encounter in your everyday, which is people who, even if they're young, they may have wrinkles here and there, they may have the dark circles, they may look not very proportionate in some areas because your face has sides that are more dominant, whereas this one, she looks like she is perfectly symmetrical. Her skin looks completely smoothened out without texture. Her skin tone, it happens to be neither too pale but definitely not tan. All that stuff. And her teeth happen to look good too. I know the people we see in Hollywood tend to be all airbrushed, right? But what I'm saying is that at least most of those people have existed before the era of AI as we know it today. being so intrusive. And I think that at least we got to make a connection with the actual actor on the screen. Now I feel like AI actors and actresses are here to just make these companies that make movies and stuff put product out faster and make money faster, kind of like fast fashion. Make something quick, is not even good quality. It may look kind of good on the outside, but it's not going to last you. And if you look at it closely and you touch it and you wear it, you feel how delicate it is, just how you could say fast fashiony low quality it is. Whereas anytime you have something that has been handmade, it's been measured, it's been tailored for you, the fabric has been selected intentionally, and all that, a better product comes out. So with AI, my biggest concern is that this is people plotting a bunch of ideas very quickly in a short amount of time and producing something very quickly, but no one is really taking the time to polish the details. And I think that's the important element of having a cast, of having staff work on a project. If we have AI movies with AI directors, AI writers, AI actors, what is the end credits scene going to look like? Shot by AI, with AI actors, with AI directors, AI producers. I would hope the producer has to continue being human and the director, I guess, can continue to be human. But the environment was populated by a computer, as opposed to you had to take the crew and travel somewhere and set up the lighting, the cameras, everything, all of those things, and hope for the wind to be blowing just right, or assist it with a fan, or hope for the day to be calm enough, whatever, or move to another site, another location. That tediousness, that time consumption, that work should be what actually makes something feel fulfilling, satisfying, and that you feel the connection to it, especially if you as an audience member take the time to be curious about that. I wonder how they shot that, say in the 80s or 90s, before computers were as fancied up as what we have now. We knew they had computer generated stuff, but there was something about having animatronics, something about having to actually design your costume, having to design a set and put all that to work, something about that. It just felt like you were cultivating that art. But with AI, sure, we may save money on materials, we may save time, we may save money on having to, I don't know, rent some spot or close off some streets to produce some scenes and whatever. And having actual people working, humans that maybe they have to have shit schedules for maybe a year, 2 years during filming, all that. At least you know that you, as an audience member, investing, spending your money to access this entertainment, it actually is supporting more people than non-people. But if we normalize having AI actors and actresses being part of movies, and we're supposed to accept them and embrace them and pretend that they're as real and human and people as we are, just because a human coded this thing to behave like a human would. Seriously, what is the point of that? Why can't we continue having people deliver people emotions? Something about an actor having to study a script, being directed on how to manifest the content of the script. Whereas an AI, the way I see people supporting it is, this is a person who cannot be, you could say, bothered, like inappropriately, the things that we hear about people in power in Hollywood doing to certain people. How about if you create a work environment in which you hold the people doing that type of shit accountable, and if it's all of them, then all of them have to go until you hire the right people for those positions in power who do not do things like that, who actually are there to do the job, and they do the job respecting their staff. and they don't have to manipulate their staff into doing things that are gross and nasty, because they are a gross and nasty person that has been put in a position of power. There are people out there who you can trust to put in positions of power who are not going to abuse their power like these other people have. So now I feel like you're condemning everybody because of these fools, but at the same time, you don't hold them fully accountable until down the road when they're old and you feel like they're disposable because now we have someone else to replace them. But the pattern continues. Another defense I saw for her is she doesn't need a hairstylist. And I'm like, well, if I'm looking at this AI actress, and let's say for whatever reason, which I'm not, I happen to be one of those people who wants to recreate a hairstyle I saw on a movie. There aren't hairstylists practicing Hollywood techniques often, I guess, because now those hairstylists who would possibly be training other hairstylists on how to do this, that art, that craft is not being shown on screen more often. And now those of us who may be curious about that, we don't get to hear insight on the technique someone used to accomplish such a design, such a look. And I know that wigs are used all the time, but I'm just saying that if you're able to just get AI to shape hair a certain way, I'm just saying outside of the screen, outside of the computer, outside of the movie, if I wanted that hairstyle, whom can I recur to get that hairstyle? If in real life, we're not getting insights from actual people who have done that and recreated that, we're not having someone who's a hairstylist at Hollywood telling, I don't know, their aunt who has a salon on how to do it. And then the person in the salon is not training others to try to maybe throw this on social media and have an actual human reviewing that technique, applying that technique. Therefore, the rest of us can have access to that. AI feels like it's taking that out of the equation. Or say, if I wanted to wear something that I saw on a movie, that costume was completely AI generated, I would have to hope that there's enough people who can guess pretty good on how to reproduce something that they see and get the materials in real life and put all that together, as opposed to, oh, AI generated this costume. We can't ask it what materials the AI used. Maybe you can ask the AI, if I wanted to do this in real life, what would I use? What should I use? But instead, if you have costume designers, those costume designers from real life could immediately give insights on what it took to put that costume together. If AI generates the costume, you don't get to ask AI, what was your creative process? What inspired you? How did you determine what fabrics to use, what materials to use, whatever, anything like that? You are disconnecting from what it takes to produce art, to produce crafts, final results. And another dumb thing I saw, this probably has to be a troll, but I saw something about how there was some guy, I think his name was Tyler or something. I don't know how real this post is. You know how people can make up shit now? But there was something about, if I want a virgin actress, now I can see it, because, there's some men with crazy thoughts and ideas out there. Women have them too. But in this instance, since this is a female AI, then I guess we can just focus on that. But pettiness like that, those dumb things. And I'm like, I like that the public more than not are pointing out the fact that this happens to look like a teenager. Like, y'all were not trying to be subtle at all. And in real life, I have always had my questions about child actors. I look at it as, maybe if you look at this as a big school project, I guess it's not harmful. But legally speaking, for the purposes of labor, I've never been clear on how child actors can exist if there are labor laws that prohibit that children under the age of, let's say, 16 shouldn't work, shouldn't be allowed to work. But when I think about acting, I would think that acting is, I guess, accessible enough, a danger-free thing where you can find ways to incorporate a child into a scene. I don't expect a child to be performing superhero stunts, for example. In that instance, I think AI could be used to replicate a child and be like, okay, this child superhero would need to be lifted using a crane to perform this flying stunt, but we don't want to use a real, inexperienced, fragile child for this. Let's have AI represent it. Something like that. I can understand that. But also, I can understand that you can reward a child for a small part in a movie. Like if you need to have an adult who is a parent and they need a kid, they need a child actor, they need a baby actor, they can do that. But I'm just saying that I would hope that that shouldn't be an issue because they are real humans examining this and determining that, hey, yeah, we shouldn't have a child under these conditions. But the problem is, if we take AI and we have AI, including AI babies, some people in real life may get ideas that what they see the AI baby or child do, they can encourage their real life child to do. Because unfortunately, there are some parents who will always lack common sense, and you still need those tiny letters going like, no real humans were used in the production of this film, just like they do so for animals. No animals were harmed during the production of this film. So now we're gonna need to have labels for no humans were harmed during the making of this film. I don't know, you guys. I'm still not impressed by AI. I think computers are a great tool. I mean, I use them. They are beneficial. They make things convenient, especially as we complicate our lives as a society with our things on how to, especially revolving around money. Like, I'm glad I don't have to show up to DMV anymore. I'm glad I don't have to do all that shit of standing in the line to pay utilities, bills, and all that. Like, I'm grateful for that. Computers in that end, they get my full support. But I'm just saying, there are some things that are encouraging us to detach and disconnect more from the things that made us people from the start. Sometimes I wonder if people understand the impact of art. And now, if I start seeing art that wasn't even produced by a person, it was produced by prompts and codes, as opposed to someone had to take the time to use their hands, to get a pen, a pencil, and control that. Instead, now you have a computer controlling that based on inputs. And anytime you retype the input, it's going to give you a different image. It'll never be the exact same image. Then what is the goal here? What are we doing? Are we trying to begin to admire the abilities that AI has? Are we trying to be impressed by what a computer can do with an input that we programmed it to do, but the many different possibilities it generates? How come you as an individual cannot individually imagine all of that? What happened to you exercising your brain? Because I don't know about you guys, but when I would be in science classes learning about space and galaxies and everything, I always tried to imagine, based off the pictures, the illustrations on textbooks, what other kinds of galaxies there could be out there, what they could look like. And that's one cool thing that I saw on the Fantastic Four movie. I think how space looked in that movie was wonderful. And it made me want to imagine more things. All of that was probably AI generated, but I'm just saying that my imagination is not stopping there, because I already had an imagination about what space could look like before I saw that movie. If you understand, say, Saturn's rings being made of like rock, ice, whatever those components are, you can imagine more planets, perhaps with double rings, with triple rings, with quadruple rings. Maybe there's a planet out there with crystal rainbow rings, crystal ice rings, looking like glacier pieces just floating around in chunks. Or maybe it's a solid sheet of a ring going around it. It could be anything. But with AI, what I just said, it could be prompted and it could generate the image for me. But if I'm already artistic, it would be great if I myself could get out my supplies, especially supplies that humanity has been using for millennia to capture art and stuff, why would we, I guess, take the lazy way out of that? If what I just said, no one can artistically replicate it, then it's okay. It'll live in my mind, in my memories, and when I perish, they perish with me. Or maybe someone can take what I said and actually physically draw it out based off their interpretation. Or maybe I could find a human artist and I could tell them, instruct them on what I'm seeing in my mind, and guide them to physically project that using the paint, the pen, the pencil, whatever supplies we're using. And I get that the point of AI is essentially to take the person out, and I get to guide AI to tell it to generate the picture I'm imagining for me, with or without skill. But I'm just saying that there's something about you going through that process yourself physically of getting that done that makes it more rewarding, makes it more authentic. And I feel that my concern is the more we find things out of convenience to replace that to give us faster results, we start to expect fast results everywhere. And there are some things in life that simply need to be waited on. Like cooking. Cooking is not ever going to get any faster. You can make things pre-made and freeze them and reheat them and stuff, but is it going to be the same as what you had originally? Like the flavor is going to take a hit or something's going to happen to the product. Once you have to find ways to preserve it to last longer, you're making it saltier. You have to package it some way. You got to keep your freezer at a certain temperature. Those little details, I think that's silly. I hope that I made sense. Honestly, this is something in my mind that kind of still new because I'm dead set on I hate AI, and especially when I'm trying to research something. Sometimes I want to research about, say, what was the beginning of World War One, and then I see the AI overview, and while it's a great shortcut, I miss the days when I had to type that in on Google, and Google felt like I was flipping through digital pages. I had to read one website. Wikipedia could give me, you could say, the outline, and then from there I could be like, oh, okay, these people from this country and that one prince who got eliminated. Let me look that up. And then you would have to find a website that is probably from a university, or it's probably from like a library or something like that. And then you had to read that, and you had to take notes, and you had to interpret some of the context clues in there. And then those context clues, you had to dig deeper into it. I feel like AI took away that fun. Or music. Sometimes for me to rediscover music, I had to remember the lyrics. Then I had to type the lyrics and be like, this song came out in the late 90s. This is what I remember it said. And then it would give me a list of songs that had those lyrics. And then I had to study those lyrics, see if that sounds like what it sounded in my mind, look it up, and then it's either a score or a miss. Or sometimes I would score the remix because the remix was more popular than the original, until I continue digging to find the original because the original is what I'm looking for. That. Now I feel like AI is like, oh, you're looking for this? It was this, and these are the two versions of it. Pick one. It's like, there was something about you doing some digging. It required discipline. It required dedication. It required that you knew how to use your tools too, because you had to understand a computer and how to fire it up, which programs to use and everything. Now you just know that everything can be done from one app universally. And something about that, I like things to be separate. I like my music player to be separate, my phone or texting device to be separate, just like it used to be back in the good old days. And now I feel like everything has to be together for convenience, and I do enjoy the convenience, but sometimes I do miss that. I guess my instinct as an animal is I feel rewarded when I have to go out there and hunt something and protect myself from the dangers. But in the end, when I make it and I come home and I made it, it's like, listen to my journey. Now, my journey to accessing entertainment is I just fire up this app and it's over. I don't get to tell them about, so there was a lot of people at the movies and this and that. Movies are still in theaters, but they're not accessible. I'm not paying $30 for a movie. So, yeah, you guys, that pretty much sums it up. Thank you so much for tuning in. Like I always say, and I mean it, I'm not looking for you to agree with me. Feel free to disagree. Feel free to agree. Feel free to think whatever you want to think and share it with me. But I'm just letting you know what my concerns are. And given that I work with a lot of people, even with all that convenience, people still don't know how to use the convenience that's on their very hands. And the reason I laugh is because yesterday I felt my neurons slowly dying with a specific interaction I had with someone. But I'm not going to share that. Like, nothing happened. They didn't escalate. They didn't get into any meltdowns or anything. They were really being dumb and slow and stupid. And I didn't mishandle that dialogue. Like, it carried on well. I'm not that kind of person who tries to humiliate you and try to make you feel dumb, even though I feel like you deserve it and maybe you need it. Some of my coworkers can do that. I don't have the guts to do that because I fear the consequences a little too much. But what I observed yesterday is exactly what worries me. If it's happening to that person, I know it's happening to other people because I've seen it. And now that chain, that connection is everybody is suffering these shortcomings because of the convenience. But now it's getting to the point where they don't know how to handle that convenience. We're regressing, but we're in denial that we're regressing. And somehow I'm supposed to be convinced and believe that this is the way. No. Keep being people, coming together as people to solve people problems. All right? All right. Okay, that's it. Bye.